the less time it takes me to transfer to the team what it is that we're here to do, the more time I get to designate somewhere else that is actually probably a higher target value, such as sales or estimating, and that enables the business to then secure more work into the future. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I am your host. Thank you for dropping by. All my long-time listeners, appreciate you hanging around. And of course, those that have just dropped in for the first time today to check us out, thank you for stopping by. Quick housekeeping, like and subscribe, hit the bell. One of these drops every week. Get across to Business for Builders VIP on Facebook. There is a private group there. Answer the questions. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in. And if you want to get hold of me and have a chat about some customised coaching for contractors, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Or you can check out the website, elitebusinessadvisory.com. Righto, guys and girls, as usual, want to present, put together some stuff that you can tuck under your arm and go and build a kick-ass business, because that is what we're about here at Business for Builders. It's funny because every builder that I chat with, and I was fortunate enough to chat with a gentleman out of Canberra, ACT today, and, do you want to grow a business? Of course I do. That's a standard response. We all want to grow the business because we think that growing the business automatically means better lifestyle, and I think it does. However, how we grow the business, therein lies the challenge. So today, I'm going to chat with you, about, let's call it a growth equation. It's like, all right, so what is the components to growing a business? And, I think that the list is fairly significant, and I don't think what I'm going to chat with you today is going to be an exhaustive list, but I'd like to think it's going to be some of the majority or some of the majors. So, we're going to chat about marketing, recruitment, and product delivery, or more importantly, delivery capacity. Okay, so, it's been great this week. We're sort of been back into, talking with and dealing with, some clients, because we're sort of post-Christmas, post-New Year, and we're kind of rolling our sleeves up and getting after it. And so, it's been great to just sort of, chat with people about what their, view or vision is for the new year, and chat a little bit about, what was happening last year. And, I think there's a lot of optimism going around at the moment. And, I really enjoy, I really do miss jamming with business owners. There's no question. I think I'm a little bit of an addict in that regard, because, I really love to hang with winners. And, I believe I've got a lot of those around me, and I'm very fortunate. So, every contractor, every builder dreams of having growth, which is, that definition is going to be different for everybody. I would encourage you to just focus on you and your life and your world, because the minute you start looking sideways and comparing yourself to others is where you start getting a little lost. So please just, contemplate what means the most to you and what you want to do, and then that is what's going to give you the direction, to go forward. But it is certainly, it's a very delicate balance. Even once you get that trajectory or that destination sorted out. So, if you can really, it's a balance between attracting the right clients, building the right team, and, really delivering an exceptional experience or result. Getting those factors dialed is going to be a full-time job in the beginning at first, for sure. Right, so we're going to chat just quickly about marketing spend, recruitment strategy, and then product delivery capacity, and how these work together to shape your business trajectory. So I want to lead out with a saying that I heard this week, and I want you to think about this in your world, in your business, and that is, I want you to make your service valuable before you make it scalable, okay? I think too often we think about going big and just making more money, and we don't really give the micro detail about, and I've talked about this before, about developing the technique, right, at a very low level or an entry level, so that we have already got the habits developed and solidified in our subconscious, so that when we go bigger, we're not really, there's not a lot of muscle memory. And I think I've likened it to, what is one of the solos that I'm learning at the moment? Raise a Little Hell by Trooper. And if you're an Aussie, you might not have heard of that band. I don't know. I'd never heard of it till I got here, but I've just learnt that solo. And, the challenge is that you've got to think about, the beginning what you're doing, where you're putting your fingers and things like that. But as you play it more and more and it starts to sink into your subconscious, all of a sudden, the execution overcomes your thought process. And that's probably, pretty important. So make it valuable before you make it scalable. And I don't believe that you can scale up a business that isn't valuable to the end user, the client. I think you're dreaming if you think, well, I'm just going to make a rush at it. I tell you what will happen is you'll be a flash in the pan. That's what you'll do. You'll go hard, you'll get some traction. I've seen it more times than I care to think about. And all of a sudden, it's not sustainable. Okay, so I want you to think about that as well. So make it valuable so it becomes scalable so that it is sustainable. I'll just go and add another one on there. There you go. We'll write that one down. Make it valuable before you make it scalable so that when you're scaled, when it is big, it is sustained. We don't want to be a flash in the pan, right? So, as it relates to, your marketing spend as a growth catalyst, growth catalyst might be a little bit of a tricky, description, but essentially your profit's tied to your marketing. And so just because you spend money on marketing doesn't guarantee you inquiry, doesn't guarantee you projects, right? But if you've got your messaging and your system right, it definitely does start to become, there's a very synergistic existence between your marketing spend and your profit. Then, of course, if you're talking about your marketing spend producing profit, that's going to then start developing an expansion capital treasure chest, or war chest, I should say, that's going to enable you to start building the business and developing and growing the business, which is important. So, I've had guys say to me, well, I don't want to get too busy. Look, I think we've got to have an attitude that says rack and pack, right, and stack, because it's very difficult to have a very down-the-middle type existence. It's either feast or famine. You've either got not enough leads and too many guys, or too many guys and not enough work, right? So, if I'm going to pick one of those, I'm sure you know which one it will be. I would rather bite off more than I can chew and just chew like buggery to try and get through the work. So this is where we have a project start schedule whereby we can stack jobs and tell clients when we're going to get to their projects to begin. Now, you can have the pre-construction phase that will help you, but at some stage you're going to fill the bases. You'll fill your project schedule for the next 6 to 12 months, and even though you are stacking people into clients into pre-construction agreement, you will still run out of space, which I think is a good problem. Okay, that means you're going to start turning clients away. You can become very selective in who you work for, and I think that means you are going to be maximizing every minute of every workday in the production of gross profit and ultimately a good net profit. So aligning your marketing. So these are the things you've got to think about. You've got to align your marketing strategy with your target audience and your growth goals. So think about that. It's like, all right, so I'm gonna develop, or I'm going to make sure my marketing strategy is in alignment with my target audience or my preferred client profile and the rate at which I want or can build or grow my business, okay? So this is not just this kind of, let's throw some shit at the wall and see what sticks. I really encourage you guys to, I'm a bit of a fan at the moment of the book, the E-Myth Revisited. And, it talks about the breakup of a small business owner, and that is, your 70% technician, 20% manager, and 10% entrepreneur. And I think, we focus a lot on the technician because it is the larger part of us as human beings. But then we wonder why the business doesn't grow because we neglect the management system side of the business and the entrepreneurial, i.e. the visionary and, the understanding of where we're going with the business and why we're doing what we're doing. That is definitely the entrepreneurial role. So we want to make sure there's alignment there with the growth goals for the business and why. So, I said to one client today, I said, look, we talk about the what and the how, But we not very often do we talk about the why, and because that's a very personal thing. The reason why I build business is going to be probably significantly different to why you build the business. There's always age demographics, experience, differences. There's going to be, where you are up to in your business development journey. And so that's why it's a very individual thing, and it needs to be, very suitable to you. That's why I say put your blinkers on, disregard everyone else in and around you, and make sure that you're doing the right thing in accordance with your own goals. Okay, and then of course, when we are spending money on marketing, we really need to use the data to measure our return on investment. And so, if you're a client of mine, you know exactly what I'm talking about with our key performance, our key activity metrics, whereby we are looking at what happens every day in relation to the activity in the business, and some of that is a marketing spend, which then we calculate numbers of jobs that we've signed this month, and we look at, that creates the cost per lead, the customer acquisition cost, and our return on advertising spend. And that helps us optimize where we are spending our money. So in some cases, there's certain avenues that don't, not as effective as others, and we might reallocate the marketing spend from that platform or that digital or that media or that print media, whatever, and we might then reallocate that to somewhere that's performing at a higher level. But without the ability to trap the data, because you're not measuring it, you can't manage it. Okay, so just think about that when it comes down to marketing spend as a growth catalyst. Right, let's talk about recruitment. So you want to build the right team. If you're going to go on a journey to develop a business, then you want to make sure that you've got the right, you've got to have the right bums in the right seats behaving the right way. And, I think a lot of the time, lead generation, which essentially is the byproduct of good marketing, I think, having people in your business and teams, really time, team, and money is our biggest challenge. And so developing that team is certainly really, you need to be able to focus on what am I doing for attracting the right talent? What am I doing to onboard and train the supposedly right talent? And then what am I doing to retain the talent? And that really is, something that we need to think about. We need to be able to attract the right talent. We need to be able to train said talent competently. And then we also need to be able to retain, because there's nothing worse than attracting, training, and then losing, a talented individual, because we sort of think, well, why did that happen? And so, this will bring me to, I guess it really does lend itself to chatting about systems. And, you've got to have a system. I just say to people, what's the point of employing people and building a team if you are the magic of your operating system, okay? Now, your operating system, if you're a one-man band or one gal band, then your operating system is the 6 inches between your ears, because you know everything. You do everything the best, okay? And that's very restrictive. I mean, you can be proud of that, but it's very restrictive, and it's very counterproductive when you talk about trying to develop a business or grow a business, because it's all inside your head. So what you have to do is take time out to go and develop systems. Well, that then presents another challenge. Right, so, building the right team for the journey. So how, recruitment or recruiting quality individuals, absolutely, it directly impacts on your service and also client satisfaction. I mean, there's nothing better than to know that somebody in the field that you've recruited is treating your clients and your projects exactly the way you would. So when you're hiring, when you're starting to build that team, obviously you talk about systems for everything else. Well, hiring requires its own systemized approach. And, when you're talking about, ensuring or maximizing your chances of attracting the right type of individual, you've got to really think about prioritizing skill, cultural fit, and that it lends itself to scalability. So, what I'm doing all the time, especially in the franchise side, I'm always looking for, somebody that does identify with having a strong culture, that their core values are in alignment for the most part with myself and my leadership team that's in existence and my business partners. And just to make sure, because that's going to provide harmony, because the opposite of that will be, a lot of friction and unrest. And that all of that just does not enhance the delivery process, okay? So, we've got to have systems not just for, frame inspection checklists or whatever we've really got to start thinking about. And this is why when you talk to me about, well, where do I need systems in my business, Max? And I'm like, well, there's 9 departments in pretty much every building company. And each one of those departments will have, half a dozen to, a dozen micro departments. And each of those micro departments will have between, 3 to 10 SOPs to fulfill the duties within that micro department. So this is not a quick fix. It just is the end game that's required if you're going to have a business that does have an upward trajectory and not a downward or a flatline trajectory. Okay. Obviously we want to avoid, and this is where it comes back to, when your marketing is on point. Have you ever had a situation where you go, oh, I've won a lot of work, I've got to hire guys, and then you put your attention towards doing the job, and then there's no more work to come, then you got to let guys go. So it's the recruitment hills and valleys, okay? And the reason is, when you back up one step, when you've got marketing sorted as a growth catalyst, then the recruitment side of things can then tuck in behind that. So in other words, if we start stacking our project start schedule because our marketing and our lead gen and our sales is good, that means we get a lot more certainty in our recruitment avenue, and therefore we don't have the recruitment highs and lows, the recruitment hills and valleys, the come and work for me and like, oh, now I've got no work, see you later. Okay, you're never going to grow a business like that. So, if you've ever had that experience, it's not just I've run out of work. You've got a gaping issue with your ability to not just win work, but understand the philosophy and the fundamentals around why we stack jobs into the future. It's not just because we want to brag that we've got 6 to 12 months in front of us. No, if we're going to grow a business, we want to basically come into the office and know that today is just another day as it relates to lead generation and team building, okay, and product delivery. It's like there is no craziness. There's no chaos. It's all about control, okay? And it's just another day at the office. And so people go, well, that might be a bit boring. Well, I think what is the opposite to boring is being stressed and uncertain and really, unsure about what you're going to do in 3 months because the work is going to run out. And so it's always like this tank slap type experience that us builders have, is because we do no marketing, and then all of a sudden we do some marketing and we get some jobs, and then we go into recruitment and we're all of a sudden we're pushing out jobs, and then we run out of work, and then we go back to marketing. Like, it's just a frigging big hot mess, okay? And so I guess I'm just trying to rattle a few cages and getting you to think about it, because I think part of doing what we do in that regard is the philosophy around running a man short. Because again, it's very difficult to walk that fine line in the middle. So if it's me, I'm always going to err on the side of running a man down or a man short, because I know we always seem to get the job done. Because the flip side is, I have a guy on who we're only using 50% of the time, but it's cost me 100% in his wage, okay? So, when we're talking about profitability, that really is not helping, okay? Because we're very specific and very pinpoint on, hey, this is the margin that we need to create from each job each year. This is the fixed expense or the operating expense percentages that we need to maintain, not a percent more. And this is the net profit. This is the company earnings that we're looking to create. Okay, so this is why we're sort of talking so much about the entrepreneurial and manager side as opposed to the technician side, because if we don't get that right, your life as a technician and a business owner is really just a crapshoot. Okay, the last thing there's product delivery. So scaling without sacrificing quality. And this is where, a lot of my clients will resonate, or that message resonates with them, in the fact that they're like, yeah, I know, because if I've got to get it done quick, I've got to go and do it myself. And I'm not saying that, there's got to be some improvement in some of your guys and gals team skills. Definitely not saying that. I'm sure there's always room for improvement. But that is a smaller percentage than being able to systemize process so that they don't tap you on the shoulder all the time and they go, hey, Max, what do I do next? Okay. You know, I was even chatting with one prospective client as well today. And, you know, I said, where is the description of the scope for the whole project? In other words, you're going to bring your team onto the job site and they're going to look at a set of plans. And the first question they're going to ask is, okay, where do we start? And so there's the taps on the shoulder that we're trying to get rid of. So if you take a step back, okay, and we're talking about product delivery capacity, the less time it takes me to transfer to the team what it is that we're here to do, the more time I get to designate somewhere else that is actually probably a higher target value, such as sales or estimating, and that enables the business to then secure more work into the future. Okay, so you know, I encourage that gentleman today to actually think about writing a little bit of a discovery, story about what the job is doing. Now, so we've got construction drawings, we've got engineering, we've got all of the soil test, all the stuff that goes with it. But it's like, hey guys, see the plan, see the house, here's the story. And you get them to read that. And so, you know, you might say, oh, that's a bit dinky, I'm not doing that. I'm like, suit yourself. You know, it's your business, your life, do what you want. But at the end of the day, I just want to get out of there and dodge and go do something else. So rather than me stand there, it's like, here you go, boys, read this. And then I nick off because that's, you know, I've introduced them to the project. Now, beyond that, it's about more documented systems for having them execute the way that I want it each step along the way. Okay. So you've just got to think about in the product delivery process, where do you lose the most time? Now, if you put a bag on and you're on site 8 hours a day for 4 days a week, then your business is going to have a hard time growing because you're being lent on for the delivery, right? So let's try and think about how we reduce that. And this is why I say to people, look, especially new clients, it's like, this is a 24-month maneuver, okay? It takes you 4 years to get your trade papers as a carpenter, where I come from, okay? And you think that you're going to get into this business development thing and do it and knock it out the park in 3 months, you're freaking dreaming. Like, you know, stop it already. We got to understand that you're an organic creature and you are not going to change. I am not going to change quick, right? It takes time. So we need to be patient with ourselves because I guess if we could grow fast, we would. But clearly, you're not growing fast. So accept the time that it does take to sink in to your noggin to be able to understand and really embrace change, because that's what it's all about. And then I've got business owners, and rightfully so, that complain about their boys not wanting to do what they're told because it's different. And I say, well, it's going to be a journey of change and we want to introduce it a little bit at a time. And here's the other thing. Any time that you as a builder are dealing with a homeowner or a team member or a business partner or a subcontractor or even a supplier, I want you to understand, if you dump too much information on any one human being at any time, right? And I've done this, right? Because I love the detail, right? Whenever I see someone glaze over, this is what happens. I've provided so much information that it's become overwhelming to that client or to that individual. And the minute that I get where I see that, where they glaze over, immediately everything that I'm presenting goes to zero and devalues. Because the minute that they sense overwhelm, everything just flatlines. It disappears. The value is gone, okay? So, you know, I want you to understand that it's one thing for you to get a bee in your bonnet and go, right, I'm going to systemize the shit out of my business. Great. Then you've got to be able to deploy that across your organization. And when you do that, you need to be mindful that you're going to ask them to do things differently. So just tread carefully, okay? Because here you go. You're wanting to develop the business, grow the business. You know that your product delivery capacity is always needing to be enlarged. But the minute you start to overwhelm your guys and your team, potentially you're going to do yourself a disservice because now they're not even producing at the normal rate. And yet you're trying to do something that's increasing the delivery rate. It's counterproductive. Just think about the psychology, folks. That's all I'm saying. We've got to balance speed, quality, and client satisfaction whilst we're scaling our operation, okay? So just consider those things. This is not really something that's steak and potatoes that's that tangible. This is going to require a little bit of consideration because we're dealing with an organic creature called humans. Okay. And finally, leveraging tools, training, and technology to expand your capacity. And so, an example I would have is, if you're sitting there and you go, right, Max, I've got my folder full of my checklists, or I've got a project file and it's got all my checklists in, but the guys don't use them. Now, what we find is with systems that we've got to reduce the friction, we've got to make it simplistic, and we've got to make it accessible. Okay, so what I suggested to a client yesterday was that in that construction file, what we're going to do, and this is a little project that I'm going to run with these folks, is we are going to work collectively on Google Forms, create a Google form, which automatically will create a link, and then we want to attach that link to a QR code, and then put that QR code into the project file on site. So when we have to walk around, let's say at frame stage, and do a pre-gyprock check or a pre-drywall inspection of that frame, making sure we've got door openings correct, et cetera, everything that we want ticked inside of that frame at that point in time as far as a quality assurance component needs to be built into the form. So when that QR code is scanned, it will throw automatically to that Google form. Now, when that individual on site, one of your team, fills out that Google form on their phone, that automatically will send an email. Once he hits submit, it'll send an email to your inbox, and it also logs into a spreadsheet. You can track the data. Now, let's fast forward and we go in there, and the finishing carpenter or the fix-out carpenter goes in there to hang a door, and he can't because there's an inch or a half inch round into the door opening. Now, if we go back to the form, it says, did you take your 7-foot level and check all of the door openings for straight studs? And the individual that signed off on that says, yes, I did, yes, I did, yes, I did, because he's filled out the form. Then you bring him back in and say, look at this. We cannot hang this door. We've got to modify the wall now to be able to get that stud straight. Don't let it happen again. That needs to be written up, because if it continues to happen, that person is on my bus with a bum in a seat, but he's not responding, and he's not behaving the right way. Okay? So when you start having these systems, your capacity for delivery enlarges. Okay? What we're trying to do is not just recruit people and have them do what we tell them to do. What we're trying to do is empower them. And empowerment means transferring the power from you and me to them. And the best way you can do that is with systems, because it brings accountability as well. Right, so we've got to have all of these things working in harmony. If we are going to grow the business, we're going to have marketing, recruitment, and your delivery capacity all working in harmony with each other, so that one thing complements the other thing. And overall, what the result is the business begins to grow. So I would urge you to think about your business right now and go, do I have those components working in harmony? Do I have any of those components, or do I not? Okay, and so when you start understanding where you're coming from, and maybe this is part of the reason, and your business is not growing. Okay, and a lot of the time, guys, don't beat up on yourself, because we are trained carpenters for the most part. Okay, we don't get this business development education. We don't get these fundamentals and these things spoken to us or presented to us until it's probably too late. And I think the more we sort of crave the understanding, just know this: if you're out there and you're swinging a hammer, there's a better way to do business. There just is. But it's up to you to identify what needs to be adjusted, amended, corrected, implemented in your business as a matter of priority. And I ask people all the time, what's the top 3 things that aggravate you the most about your business? What do you hate about your business? What are the things that frustrate you about your business? And there becomes an identification process of where's the gaps. And then we've got to go to the root cause and find out what is it that we have to do? What systems do we need to implement? What is my greatest challenge? And then really sort of understand how we're going to do it. So, high performance and kick-ass business, it's going to have marketing, recruitment, and delivery capacity all working together in harmony at the highest level. And so have a think about that. I appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget you can get a hold of me for some customized contracting coaching, max at elitebusinessadvisory.com, or just go check out the website, elitebusinessadvisory.com, and hit the book a consultation button. Come and talk to me, and we'll see what happens from there. Get across to Business for Builders VIP. Answer the questions. I'll let you in if you're a good sort. Tick the bell. One of these drops every week. Great to have you along for the ride. Look forward to hearing your war story and your winning story. Go build our kick-ass business. See you next time. Cheers.